I want to look at the issue around these jobs that have been lost today, and I wonder, is there a government running the place, and do they care about this sort of thing? I haven't heard much from them. We've asked government ministers to come on today, a number of government ministers to come on today, to get some reaction to the 75 jobs going in Penrose at the Oji Fibre Solutions plant. This is the paper recycling plant. Nothing from the government. All unavailable, can't talk, but the government's now being accused of sleepwalking the country into a manufacturing crisis. Another factory's gone under. 75 jobs potentially gone. This is Oji Fibre Solutions. High power prices, obviously the last straw, although it hasn't made money for 3 years. High cost of labour and freight. And the power prices have come on top of that. The union says the government did nothing to try and save the jobs. That doesn't surprise me. They did nothing to the Central North Island plants, which closed up a couple of weeks ago, 200 jobs there. Methanex is closing up a couple of idle plants, another 200 jobs there. What are we doing, folks? Why are we making it so hard to do business in New Zealand? Do we not want these high-paying jobs or these well-paid jobs? These jobs, industries are going. And when Luxon was at Air New Zealand, did we not give him a bailout or two? Of course we did. So 500 jobs gone in just this last few weeks in pulp and paper recycling and Methanex. What did the government do? And says, I think it's a disaster for a small country trying to trade its way out of recession and trying to increase its GDP, that you have the price of power so high and so uneconomic that businesses start to close down. That's a disaster. And we're deluded because we've done this to ourselves. There's no one else to blame. We structure the power systems, we design them, and look what we've got. Today, 75 workers might not get redeployed. They might be facing Christmas without a job. Joe Gallagher is with the Air2 Union, and he's their spokesperson. Joe, g'day, mate. Nice to have you on the program.
Good afternoon, Duncan, and thank you. Yeah.
It's not good, is it? I mean, the writing was on the wall, but this is just this sort of middle of the year. All we've seen is these companies, these factories close down. You know, real jobs. Some of the only jobs these people have had. The only place in town is where the pulp and paper mill is. And again today in Penrose, another 75 jobs. Could they not be saved?
No. Well, I mean, you'd like to think that they could have been saved. You know, the unions put together a proposal. It was clear from the get-go that the company had considered capital injection. They had ruled that out. It was going to cost them over $50 million. The power and the gas price was one of the factors that kind of finally pushed this over the edge. It's an aging plant. Their power and gas price has been volatile for the last 3 years. So, the writing was on the wall. What's disappointing from our perspective is the fact that we are seeing all of these major closures, and the government is kind of asleep at the wheel. There's a lot of talk, but there's no action. And you think we've seen in the past, and you rightly said, the Prime Minister was in charge of a company that's been bailed out multiple times, right? Yet his new philosophy is not to intervene in the market. And a lot of these companies that are folding up are critical to the ecosystem of the communities where they're based. And it's not just those jobs that are affected, it's all the cafes, the doctors, the nurses, the teachers, all of those communities. So, it's really disappointing. These people are reeling. I was dealing with a 61-year-old who's just bought his first house. He is now going to have to move to Australia and work till he's 70 because, his options are few and far between as this market is getting tighter in New Zealand. This economy is just crumbling before our eyes.
Yeah, and this worries me because I wonder if we've been too passive with this. I mean, we don't have to save the company, but you can at least restructure the power systems and the power processes and the way we structure the power that gets to the factories and so forth with spot prices. It's a debacle when you've got your country trying to get ahead and trying to get the next person employed, which increases GDP. Now, that's how GDP works. But how are we going to do that, Joe, if we are closing factories because we can't provide power at even a reasonable price?
Yeah, look, absolutely, and the government came in talking a big game. We saw what the previous government did at New Zealand Steel, because New Zealand Steel is 1% of GDP, and they gave funding to put in an arc furnace, and a lot of people criticised that. But that mill is worth $135 million, to the direct economic benefit to the economy, and for every $100, at 95 goes back into the community. It just shows you how important these places are to the ecosystem in New Zealand. And well, the landlords and the farmers are getting respite, up the wazoo. Heavy industry and manufacturing in New Zealand is getting no support. I mean, did we learn nothing from COVID, which showed that our domestic economy, despite all these economists talking it down, actually did pretty well under COVID, despite all this other noise. Yet now, when we've got a chance to really grow our domestic economy, we are not supporting local manufacturers who employ New Zealand workers. I just don't get it.
Now, I know the audience here won't they'll probably throw things at the computer when or whatever device they're listening on. But the fact is that it's a very passive government when it comes to getting involved. I mean, I'd look at the media, at News Hub and so forth. There was a complete disinterest in saving the media. Now, I can imagine a lot of the listeners here would like to see mainstream media dead and buried, but that's not going to improve societies. But there wasn't even an attempt, and that's why Melissa Lee lost her job. But if you look at it right across the board, so manufacturing, pulp and paper, you've seen that with today's announcement, Methanex as well, they're going to close up shop, and the media. What businesses, what New Zealand jobs will they try at least save? And which ones do they want to save? Which ones will they get involved in?
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to ask the question. Here they are talking about setting up an infrastructure commission to build, create infrastructure for the next 30 years, but there'll be no suppliers, no businesses are able to supply domestically. We will rely on having to import all of our resource to fund this 30-year infrastructure build. I just don't get it. I would have thought here is an opportunity to really strengthen the supply chain, look at a plan to support local businesses and local people. Instead, at the same time bashing beneficiaries, they're creating more. I just don't get it.
What's the point of seeing these people just go on the dole? I mean, all you see is increased, and we're seeing it now. You're seeing increased welfare numbers now. That's no good for anyone. You can't survive on a benefit. Anyone that tells you it's a luxury, they have no idea. And you're just putting more obligation on the state anyway. Why don't we get involved in trying to sort out this power crisis?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question. I mean, Shane Jones has talked quite a bit, but have we seen any action? A lot of ministers have talked quite a lot, but we really, we haven't seen any delivery or any true reaction from the government. These gen retailers are just creaming it, and if you look out to 2027. That spot price is still going to be as volatile today as it is next in 2027. I mean, today it's $194. Yesterday it was $360. By 2027 it'll still be floating at $900. And you go, wow, it just doesn't make sense.
Is that the estimate? Well, what else? Because my understanding is that. Yeah, there'll be other companies going under as well. These aren't the only ones. Are you aware of other companies that are looking at the spot prices going, we can't do this?